Snow White's Heroines, written by Rainbow Press, narrated by Sophia Chambers. Chapter 1. An ornate coffin stood on the pedestal while the priestess led the funeral ceremony. It was smelted from iron mined in the mountain. Expensive, but nothing less for the queen. Thousands of dwarves dressed in black filled the hall as the priestess delivered the eulogy. Her holy vestments were black, instead of the usual white with gold trim. Bagpipes played while pallbearers carried the coffin. Tears welled in Snow's eyes as she watched her mother being carried away, but she was determined not to look weak in front of her people. With her mother gone, it was only a short time until she would have to step up as queen. After the funeral, her father, Frost, walked with her to a council meeting. 50 female dwarves were in rows of seats. Each of them held a different providence of Delta 13b. A dull roar in the crowd got louder when Snow took her seat in the chair next to her mother's throne. Frost sat in the smaller seat to her left. The throne was empty. Snow found it humorous that humans assumed dwarves were patriarchal due to the females rarely being seen above ground. They couldn't be further from the truth, since dwarves were actually matriarchal. The females are never seen, since they have to stay behind and work. Males are the miners and the merchants, but the females do just about everything else. Snow pled her case before the council. She was the only rightful heir to the throne, but she was just a few years shy of being proper age for ruling. Witnesses were called to testify to her maturity. Teachers and older friends stood on the stand to testify that Snow White was ready to rule despite her young age. Her own father was called, even if the opinion of a male didn't count for much. Councilwomen stood on the stand to oppose her, stating that regardless of how mature she felt, there was no way that she was ready for the responsibility of the land. Lynn, the head of the council, decided that it would be put to a majority vote. Frost stood and slammed his fist against the railing around the chairs. "This is an outrage. My daughter is the rightful ruler, and you shall not take that away from her."
"Have a seat, White, or we shall take it from you."
Lynn pursed her lips.
"Nobody is taking her daughter's right to the throne. If a stewardess is appointed, then they shall resign their rule as soon as your daughter becomes of age."
Frost grunted before taking his seat back. "It isn't fair. You should rule."
"I know, Dad."
Snow smiled to her father. "But we must listen to the council." Frost let out a long exhale that bristled his thick mustache. "Reasoning like that is exactly why you should have the throne." The vote was cast, and Snow's heart sunk when she heard the result. She would have to wait several years to take the throne. In the meantime, Lynn had been appointed as stewardess. As if it could not get worse, within months there was an obvious romance between Lynn and Frost. As he spent more time with her, his hair grayed, and he developed a glazing stare. It wasn't long before they were engaged, and by the end of the year he was married to her. 2 humans that lived on the mountain were called to attend a dinner. They were incredibly wealthy and wore bright robes to the banquet prepared for them. Both of them were elderly women with light gray hair, though one had prehensile hair several times longer than her body. They introduced themselves as Rapunzel and Rampion. Lynn had no interaction with them and seemed to only have them as a courtesy. Frost's eyes were glazed over, and he mindlessly ate his meal while staring into space. That left Snow to interact with them the most, and she found the experience intriguing, since it was her first time meeting humans. "So, you are going to be in charge soon?" Rapunzel asked. Snow nodded. "Won't be long at all." "Good." Rapunzel lowered her voice and leaned closer to Snow. "Something about the stewardess gives me the creeps."
"Aye,"
Rampion whispered.
"Something about her feels familiar and not in a good way. Be careful around her."
Just after the meal, the couple had an accident on their way back. Rapunzel was torn to pieces by a wild animal, while Rampion barely escaped. A tear rolled down Snow's face as she saw the sweet old lady in the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?